Welcome back, everybody, to the OPT Network. Well, you know how every single day we ask all of you, and I ask myself, to be the change that we want to see, not just in our community, but in our world. Well, this morning we're talking to two game changers, and they are changing the game through pink lemonade. We welcome to the OPT Network Bryn Rhodes and her mother, Kim Rhodes. Ladies, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
So you guys are trailblazers and game changers, but you're changing the game through pink lemonade, which really sounds fun and exciting. But the process of changing people's lives and mentality started with a breast cancer diagnosis from you, Kim. Tell us about breast cancer and how it's really ravaged your family.
Well, I was already a big supporter of breast cancer and breast cancer research before I was diagnosed. So it's about four and a half years since my diagnosis, which was in March 2015. And at that time, I already knew that my mother had had breast cancer, my paternal grandmother had had breast cancer, and my sister had breast cancer. So I was sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop. But my mammograms had been clear, and I wasn't BRCA positive. I didn't have the gene for breast cancer.
So you were tested for the gene?
Yes.
So did you have a sense of feeling secure that maybe it would leapfrog you?
I was hopeful. I have to say, I never really thought it would leapfrog me, but I was hopeful.
And so tell me about when you get the diagnosis. Do you go and have a mammogram? How does the process happen for you?
Yes, good question. My primary care physician felt a lump that I did not feel on my own despite doing breast self-exams. So my primary physician felt a lump.
So when she feels the lump, Kim, what do you think at that moment?
I thought, well, I had just had a clear mammogram in May, and this was in December. So I thought it was probably nothing, but I thought it would make sense to get it checked out. I actually wish I would have done it immediately. At the time, my mother-in-law was unfortunately suffering and dying of heart failure. So I waited a few months, and I shouldn't have. So that happened in December, and I finally got it checked in February.
And so you have a second mammogram. Do they find it then? And when she feels it, when she feels the lump in your breast, do you then feel it?
I still couldn't feel it. She did feel it, and I still couldn't feel it, but the doctors did feel it as well. And I went and had a mammogram at that time and an ultrasound, and I think they immediately recognized it as breast cancer, though they didn't tell me that until after the biopsy.
And so you have it biopsied and you get that diagnosis that is no stranger to your family. How do you then process it for yourself?
Slowly, and, a little bit of crying, and it takes a while to come to terms with it, and then sort of figuring out what to do next. In my case, I didn't want to discuss lumpectomy because I have such a strong family history. I preferred to get a double mastectomy and not have to think about it anymore, not have to have any more mammograms, not to be suffering and nervous.
And so then you get diagnosed and you come home. How do you tell your 10-year-old daughter and your family that this diagnosis and this disease that you guys really understand in a very intrinsic way, that it is now knocking at your doorstep?
I also have to tell you that my mother-in-law had breast cancer as well, my husband's mother.
Wow.
So really, really a lot of breast cancer in our family. And I just shared that I had breast cancer and I was going to be okay to my kids, and I was going to do whatever I needed to do to take care of myself, and so that I could be there to take care of them.
So Bryn, when your mom sits down with you guys and you have the conversation, do you really understand breast cancer? Is it something that you've heard so much that you kind of understand what this is?
Well, at the time, I didn't know exactly what it was, and I didn't know if my mom was going to get better, but now I know pretty much clearly what it is, and I am really excited that we can help people.
So were you afraid when your mom said that she had breast cancer? How do you tell a 10-year-old that, Kim, that makes sense?
Right. Well, I just want to say she was 6 at the time.
She was 6.
She's 10 now. So she was
Oh,
6 when
okay.
I
So
died.
she's really way too young at that time to understand.
Yeah. The other thing I will say, and this is interesting for people my age, I'm in my early 50s. Cancer doesn't have the same meaning to kids today as it did when I was a kid, because there's so many more treatments and so much more success. I mean, when we were kids, cancer was a word that you didn't ever use. And that's not the way it is now. So I think, it's not automatically assumed that you're not going to be okay. So
I like that, Kim. I like that analogy because you're right. You and I are of the same age group. And for me and my whole life, if you heard that word, you thought death.
Right. But it's not the case anymore, although unfortunately it's still too much the case, but not as much as it was when we were kids.
Sure. And so you take your 6-year-old self, Bryn, and you say, what can I do to help? How do you come up with the lemonade stand?
Well, I really wanted to do a lemonade stand, and my mom thought it would be a great idea to donate the proceeds to the Pink Lemonade.
And so when you come, when are you able to pull yourself to the point where you say, okay, we're going to start to do something, and Bryn wants to do something, and we're going to do Pink Lemonade. How does all of that happen?
Well, Bryn wanted to do a lemonade stand, which is very common, I think, at 6, 7 years old. And so I said, we're going to do a lemonade stand. That sounds like a great idea, but we're so lucky in life that we can afford to donate the proceeds that we make. So let's donate the proceeds to a charity. And I had been diagnosed that year with breast cancer. So I did some research, and we decided to donate the proceeds to the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, which focuses exclusively on prevention of breast cancer and finding a cure. They're the #1 private funder of breast cancer research in the world, and very highly rated according to Charity Navigator. So we chose the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, and we turned our typical lemonade stand pink because pink is the color of breast cancer.
Sure.
Awareness and research.
Wow. I want to take a deeper dive because every woman that I know, Kim, that has been diagnosed with breast cancer, it changes their life and it changes their outlook. How did that diagnosis change your life and your outlook, if at all?
Well, I think for most people, when you have something scary like that you're facing, you sort of evaluate your life and what you've done. And I have been a corporate lawyer for 28 years. And when this happened and Bryn started, the idea of a Pink Lemonade stand, I worked for a while after I was treated. And then I left my job. And it was really at the beginning of last spring that I turned my focus entirely to helping Bryn grow her idea of the Pink Lemonade stand. So that was a game changer. And we're also moving our family to California, where I've always wanted to live. So I think it's time to do some things that I've always wanted to do while I still have time. I've been given a gift of life, and so I want to use it to its fullest.
Wow. So was there apprehension in having a double mastectomy as opposed to not?
Not for me, because I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I will say that my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer at 50, and she had a single mastectomy. Wow. And the next year at 51, they found breast cancer in her other breast. So she actually had to have 2 mastectomies. And so having heard that story, I wanted to be sure not to go through that myself.
Wow. So with the treatments and the progression, the cancer is in remission. How do you deal with the remission versus having cancer? Are you concerned, or what have the doctors said in terms of the prognosis of it not returning?
Right. Well, as with any cancer, you never know. I was stage 2B, so I had some lymph node involvement, and I'm still being treated and see my oncologist. I am being treated with hormone therapy, and I think all any of us can do is pray and hope that it doesn't come back, and follow up with my doctors, and so that's what I do.
So tell us about the Pink Lemonade stands and how you are working to spread them throughout the map of the United States.
Well, I'm so glad you asked. So last year we got to 15 states. Initially we started with 10 stands in 10 states was our slogan last year. And
So
this year
let me
we're going.
stop you right there. 10 stands in 10 states. Okay,
Yep.
so you're a corporate lawyer. You had a job. Now your mission becomes helping to spread awareness and helping to fund the research. How do you go about spreading the lemonade stand in 10 states? Because that's big.
Yeah, that's big. So last year was primarily sheer force of will. It
Okay.
was trying to inspire friends and friends of friends to do lemonade stands, and then calling local news stations and asking them to cover it. And that worked well. It made it a little bit contagious. So we had people doing lemonade stands. And BCRF supports us, and they put us on their website, and they did a story about us in their magazine. So that was another way to spread it. And one thing that we did last spring, and we did it again this spring, is we had a pink lemonade stand poster party at Bryn's Elementary School. And a lot of kids participated. And those kids and their families went out and did lemonade stands all over the country. One of the families traveled to Alaska last summer.
Wow.
And brought a lemonade stand with them to Alaska and made a lemonade stand in Alaska. Another family did one in Florida. So that was a good start. And then we did it again this year. We've already had some lemonade stands from that. And we added another elementary school who also did a pink lemonade stand poster party. The poster party is just the kids make posters to use at a lemonade stand later in the summer, and they and their parents learn about our campaign.
And so, Bryn, for you, seeing this idea turn into something that is so much bigger than probably your imagination, what does that make you feel like?
Well, it makes me feel really excited that I'm being able to help a ton of people that have breast cancer. And it also makes me feel really happy that I can be doing this with my friends, or it also gives me enjoyment, not just help other people.
Uh-huh. And you're also teaching her about entrepreneurialism as well, aren't you, Kim?
Yeah, I mean, you have to learn how to run a business basically when you're doing a lemonade stand, and I think that's one of the goals. The goals of our campaign are, of course, to fund research. Secondly, to raise awareness about the Breast Cancer Research Foundation, which is working so hard on prevention and a cure. And the third goal is to encourage families and kids to engage in community service.
That is powerful and impactful. So for those people that say, Kim, you've got our attention, Kim and Bryn, you have our attention, tell people how they can connect with starting their own lemonade stand, especially in the sweltering heat of Louisiana.
Right. Well, fabulous. Thank you for asking that question, Carlette. We are hoping to inspire people in Louisiana to do a lemonade stand, and it's super easy. First of all, Bryn made a video about how you do a lemonade stand. It's terrific. And you can find it on our website at www.pinklemonadestandchallenge.com. There's a whole section on starting your lemonade stand with instructions, but it's not very hard. You pretty much just make some lemonade and set up a table and make a sign. And then we have some tips and hints. We have some flyers you can give out at your stand to make it contagious. And we have a logo you can print out if you want to add it. And when you're finished with the stand, and this is important because I think a lot of people don't get how to get the money to the BCRF campaign, you keep the money and use a credit card to upload your donation from your stand in an equal amount on the BCRF website. So you keep the money and use a credit card to donate an equal amount on the website. So there's no cash changing hands.
Good. And so before I've got to let you guys go, Kim, what are you learning, or what have you learned from the Breast Cancer Foundation about the research and where we are? Are we getting closer to curing breast cancer?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have the Breast Cancer Research Foundation and plenty of other wonderful charities to thank for the progress that we've made so far. So when my mother had breast cancer, she didn't have tamoxifen, which is a hormone treatment for breast cancer. Herceptin is a new treatment for breast cancer. And of course, there's this immuno-oncology and specialized and personalized medicine. And I think there's a lot of progress being made. And the Breast Cancer Research Foundation is funding research all over the world to ensure additional progress. It just needs to happen faster. And I want to make sure that we eradicate breast cancer before anyone Bryn's age ever has to face it.
Absolutely. Kim and Bryn, thank you so much for being world game changers. We believe that you are going to help inspire others to get involved and to eradicate breast cancer, and that another generation will not have to hopefully even know, the rigors of breast cancer. Thank you guys so much for your work, and thank you for sharing your story.
We want to achieve, and we want to ask your viewers to please #make a stand. Join us.
Please #make a stand. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks.
Kim and Bryn Rhodes.